Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. Today is Monday Fun Day.
I stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image of me that you're used to. I look money, a king bee making honey, see? Each state, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round, I'm the new sheriff in town. All my people rise up and stand your ground. Now drink up all the Diet Coke you got on your shelf. So just let me introduce myself, my name is Trump D. I like my mashed potatoes lumpy. Fake news, oh how I like to punk thee. That little sniper on the slow tin, he took a shot but he missed me. I don't fall, y'all, I'm like the ever-ready bunny. Still going strong and spunky. So put on your big boy pants. Come on, let's do the dance.
The Trumpy dance is your chance to do the Trump.
Come on, do the Trumpty Trump. Come on and do the Trumpty Trump. Check me out, y'all. We do the Trumpty Trump. Just watch me do the Trumpty Trump. Do you know what I'm doing? We do the Trumpty Trump. Come on, everybody do the Trumpty Trump. It's time to do the Trumpty Trump. Yeah, my favorite.
That's right, folks. Craig DeLuz coming at you from Washington, D.C. Now, I'm here for the California School Boards Association Coast to Coast. So we're talking to legislators about education issues. But that will not deter me from putting on the program and from talking to y'all about, 2A news and conservative views. So we're going to have a really good time. Now, I would have loved to have done this as a live feed with Mike. The problem is my internet connection here is nowhere near as good as the internet connection I have in my studio or when we're out on the road at a show. So unfortunately, the idea of doing a live feed and bringing in Mike, that was just a little bit too much bandwidth for this hotel where I'm staying. So it's just going to be me today, and I probably should be able to do something a little bit more tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm still working on that, but we're going to have a good time, me and you, talking about the issues of the day, and trust me, there is plenty to talk about. So let's just jump right into it, as we usually do, though. We're going to start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with the folks over at Hitman Industries. They make rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, there's a good chance you already have one of their barrels, and I'm sure you love it. So why not get another one? If you get a chance, when you get ready to start your next project, your next adventure, start it at hitmanindustries.net. And then we've got the California Republican Assembly, working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan himself once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You need to find out why. Just visit them at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG. holsters.com. That's right, because they like helping Americans wear guns. They like it so much, they want to give you a nice little discount. All you have to do is use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there. You're going to get your hog holster on discount today. And then finally, we've got the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun, and that would be at uscombatgear.com. They specialize in group sales. So if you're the purchasing agent for your department, for your unit, maybe for your company, you need to go there and check them out. They have a huge selection of products, right? They have very competitive pricing, especially for group sales. And they have the best customer service out there. Go there, check them out, find out why you need to do business with uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. Also want to remind you, if you are watching this program at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you are watching this program live and would love to hear from you. Go ahead and give us a shout out. Anyway, that's now going to take us to our first story here. Now, normally I wouldn't get into, state legislative or state races or gubernatorial races, except this announcement here is of particular interest, I think, to many people on a national basis, because Eric Swalwell is, he is a douchebag among douchebags in Congress, and I will just say that there are a few people who are in Congress who I think less of than I do Eric Swalwell. And considering the swamp that exists here in Washington, D.C., right across the street, I got to tell you, over at the Capitol, I got to tell you, it's whoa. I will just tell you, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, this is a guy who got caught basically come to find out, he was sleeping with a Chinese spy. This is a guy who lied multiple times about having access to intel that would prove that Donald Trump was colluding with the Russians. Anyway, just an overall bad guy. And now, as he has been running for governor and has actually been at times the front runner. I mean, it's a really spread out because there's a huge field of Democrats. But he's been kind of the lead Democrat, except, well, at first it was Katie Porter until we found out that she was, that she was not a very nice person, we'll say. And some stuff was leaked about her campaign and about how she treats her staff and how she treats other people. And so her star kind of fell. Well, now Eric Swalwell's is falling as well. In fact, he's been taking so much heat lately that, let's just put it this way. He has had to suspend his congressional race. This being reported by the California Globe. It says Representative Swalwell suspends campaign for governor following sexual assault allegations. It says here, Eric Swalwell just announced he is suspending his campaign for California governor following the stunning development that former staffer says Representative Eric Swalwell, candidate for governor, sexually assaulted her in a bombshell report by the San Francisco Chronicle. Swalwell alleged exploits have rocked California's Democratic establishment just weeks before the June primary, as he and Democrats are facing an avalanche of political fallout. Quote, this was right here is his tweet. He says, I am suspending my campaign for governor. To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight these serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not my campaign's. Needless to say, Steve Hilton has come out with a message kind of in response to it. Let's see here. You got another guy here. Kyle says the second biggest bombshell of his career. Eric Swalwell, U.S. Congressman, accused of dropping massive fart live on TV. Mystery sounds viewers. Anyway, these are all like basically everybody responding to him dropping out of the race. And anyway, all I will say is this. I almost forgot. As a result of that, by the way, just to be clear, the House Ethics Committee is opening an investigation into Eric Swalwell's alleged sexual misconduct. It says here, the committee, pursuant to the committee rule 18A, has begun an investigation and will gather additional information regarding the allegations that Representative Eric Swalwell violated the Code of Official Conduct or any law, rule, regulation, or other applicable standard of conduct in performance of his duties or the discharge of his responsibilities with respect to allegations that he may have engaged in sexual misconduct, including towards an employee working under his supervision. The committee notes that the mere fact that it is an investigation, these allegations, and publicly disclosing its review does not itself indicate any violation that has occurred. No other public comment will be made on this matter except in accordance with committee rules. So in other words, what they're saying right there is they're investigating and they're realizing that this is basically falls in like one of those Me Too moments. And Eric Swalwell is he's in a little bit of trouble. This says that people believe the allegations. Because why is there an investigation if he's only been charged? I mean, let me clarify. Accusations have been made. No charges have been filed. Now, I'm wondering if charges or if they could potentially be filed. I don't know what the statute of limitations are on these. I don't know the details in terms of how long ago any of this happened. But suffice it to say, he was the best shot. And this is how sad. I need you to understand how sad the bench for the Democratic Party is for governor. It's long. It's a very long bench, and it's a not very impressive bench. He was the star of that bench. Number 2 on that bench is Katie Porter. So once again, one has to wonder, well, then who's going to wind up being their person. I mean, here's the thing that this does. Because you just had, over the last weekend, the California Republican Party decided to not endorse either Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco, Sheriff Chad Bianco. So you've got these two candidates who are running, Republican candidates who are running pretty much neck and neck. They are largely in the polls standing at around a little under 20% each is where you'll find them. And what's interesting about that is that at that amount, both of them are almost double what the next closest Democratic candidate is, which I believe, once again, is Katie Porter, who's down around 10%. Now, and we already know she's pretty much maxed out because she's done so bad. Now, the other thing to remember is this. Even though Eric Swalwell has pulled out of the race, his name will still be on the ballot. It's too late to pull the names off the ballot. And it's going to be because in California, they don't want an election day, they want an election month. So the first ballots are going to hit the grounds, are going to hit doors and mailboxes in a couple of weeks now, the beginning of May. So they've already been printed. Now, if you don't think people will vote for somebody because they have allegations of a crime, well, you would be sorely mistaken because California Democrats will vote for anybody. You might recall way back in the day, Leland Yee. Leland Yee was a state senator who was running for Secretary of State against Alex Padilla. And he got arrested for gun running charges. That's right, for he basically got caught up in a RICO case. He was basically helping put together a gun running deal. He dropped out of the race. He was up on charges, and he was being charged. These weren't allegations. He was charged and was on his way to jail. And his name was still on the ballot. And he still got like 10%, 10% of the vote. Now, with all of these Democrats running, I'm telling you right now, you will see Swalwell will still pull. I mean, even if he pulls 5, 6, 7, 10%, those are votes that are going to go away from other Democratic candidates. So let's see. And so at this point, no matter who drops out, they're done. I mean, they're still going to be on the ballot. That's why no one is going to drop out. But you could very easily see this being a Republican-only general election. And folks, if this is a Republican-only general election, it's vitally important that Republicans focus on turnout in the general election. Vitally important, because Democrats will have no reason to show up. They're going to have to choose between two Republicans. What's hilarious about this is by the way, what's hilarious about all this is this. The top two primary, their idea, they pushed it. The early voting, right? The settling of the ballots like crazy early because the printing of the ballots crazy early because we're going to let people vote for a month. Yeah, Democrats push that. The fact that there's not going to be anybody allowed to be in the runoff, that you can't do a write-in candidate, yeah, Democrats did that. Everything that they did, everything that they are now angry about, everything that is going to make it so that they're not going to have a choice for governor, everything that, by the way, is going to push and make it so that they're going to have a horrible turnout and could potentially, oh, I almost forgot. The fact that now there's more competitive races, yeah, Democrats did that. That's Prop 50. Democrats pushed that. So now they may wind up losing a bunch of seats in Congress as a result of their own policies. All of this is going to come back to bite them in the rear. Is that hilarious or what? I find that to be incredibly funny. Anyway, I'm still hoping for the bottom. I'm still hoping that we're going to have a Republican-only general, because once again, it's not just about the top of the ticket, all the way down the ticket. Oh, by the way, and if we wind up, because it's looking like we're going to get voter ID is going to be on there as well. Something like, I think the worst group on voter ID is like 76 black people, 76% still support it. Those are the worst polling numbers on voter ID. That's the worst. So we got voter ID where you'll probably see pass. There's probably going to be the new Prop 13. I mean, there's going to be stuff on there that we're going to be able to get past that we wouldn't have probably been able to get past in most other elections if we are successful with the top two primary. If we are successful with a Republican-only top two general election, I mean. Anyway, interesting things are going to be happening in California. California may actually, at least for a brief period, may actually turn purple again. And if people like how it looks and they like how things are going, who knows? Maybe it will stay that way. Anyway, moving right along. So the International Olympic Committee has basically put out specific rules for who can compete in women's sports in the Olympics, and they're very reasonable. They're basically saying, look, we're going to test you, and if you test positive for the XY chromosome, or basically if you test positive for male chromosomes, then no, you are not going to be able to compete. It's really going to be that simple. And so what they're going to do is they're going to test all of the athletes rather than have people take down their pants and see what they got down there and check their genitalia. They're going to say, nope, we're just going to test there. And instead of quote unquote discriminating and only testing athletes that they know happen to be trans, they're going to test everybody. And the folks over at the WNBA, well, they don't like that very much. In fact, not only do they not like it just because of the testing, they just don't like the idea of testing trans women at all. This report over at Breitbart basically says trans women are women. WNBA players blast IOC testing rules. WNBA star Breonna Taylor is no fan of the International Olympic Committee recently announced testing policies aimed at keeping men out of women's sports, and she doesn't want her name being used to quote exclude trans women, basically to exclude men. Anyway, moving right along, it says their Chicago Sky Star co-wrote a piece in the USA Today along with Los Angeles Sparks player Lashia Clarendon, in which the pair took issue with the IOC's stance against allowing transgender athletes to compete in the female category, saying in part that the final hurdle to represent your country should not be proving to a panel of strangers that you are the woman you say you are. The pair wrote, "Do not use the names of women athletes to target, shame, or exclude transgender women. Transgender women are women. Women with intersex variations are women. I welcome these women and all women into my teams." The article continues, policies banning transgender athletes from participation by international sports governing bodies for swimming and track and field. In the recent policy announced by the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletes and a lawsuit against the NCAA are all byproducts of this mounting pressure in which time and time again facts and inclusive values are drowned out by political pressure and blatant discrimination. Now, what's amazing about this is that she talks about facts and science and politics, but the reality is facts and science are not on their side. It never has been. This has never been about facts or science. It's always been about politics. The reason people don't say anything is because it's been about politics and about lack of political correctness. This isn't even, you don't even have, this is not about whether or not you believe trans women are women. Well, I guess to a degree it is. It's not, but it's really about a competitive disadvantage. And if these players who are writing this were forced to play against men, like men, because here's what I would do. If I were a foreign country, I would get a bunch of dudes and I would say, okay, well, you guys all identify as women now. And I'm going to enter you and you're going to win Olympic gold. And what would there be to stop them? According to these ladies. They don't even understand the whole point. I was just reading an article the other day and it was about Title IX. Title IX is basically it is a It is a policy that was passed in order to help make sure that women had a fair opportunity to compete in sports, in particular at the high school and college level. And it's done a lot to really help women's sports. If you are going to turn around and allow men to compete in women's sports, well then why do we have women's sports? Why do we have the delineation at all? Why don't we just have one? Women got to try out for it, and if you're not good enough to make it, then you don't get to make it. Then you don't get to compete in sports. Why don't we do that? Because what you're saying is there's no biological difference between men and women. You're saying it's all about how you feel. Well, these things are based on science. These distinctions, these determinations that they're doing are based on science. And that science is not only does it protect the opportunities for women to compete, in some cases, it's physically protecting women. Can you imagine? And you've seen the fights, like for example in mixed martial arts and in boxing, where you have a woman who used to be a man now competing against women and beating the crap out of them. I mean, it's bad looking. You've seen the videos of the basketball player who injured 5 players in one half of high school basketball because that player was that much bigger, that much stronger. It was so bad the team had to forfeit because they didn't want to get another player injured. I don't understand why basic logic has to be ignored in the name of the revolution of the neo-Marxist cultural revolution. I don't support it. I believe we ought to be protecting our kids. I believe we ought to be protecting women. And in this particular case, I'm sorry, but I guess for these women, I guess we have to kind of protect them from themselves because they're just, well, evidently not that bright. All right, that now brings us to the NRA Foundation. Now, you may recall, you may know, or may or may not know, next week is going to be the annual meeting. This weekend is going to be the annual meeting for the National Rifle Association in Houston, Texas. I will be there. We'll be doing the show from there on Friday, maybe Thursday. Well, I will be doing the show there from there on Thursday, and Mike may be doing the show together with me, and we'll be doing it together on Friday. But one of the big things that's going to be discussed is going to be the NRA Foundation because, well, the NRA Foundation is kind of broken off from the NRA and is currently comprised of and made up of a bunch of people who, what's the word I'm looking for? It's made up of a bunch of people who are part of the old guard from over at the NRA. You know, the people who basically have run the organization into the ground. Well, what they've done with the foundation is basically, there's a huge amount of money over there. There's a lot of programs that are there over at the foundation. And they're basically saying, yeah, not only are we not going to hand over and we're going to be a separate group, but we're not going to provide any information to the NRA as to what we've got going on or what we're doing over here at the foundation. That's an article that's written by our good friend, Mr. Cam Edwards, over at Bearing Arms, basically noting NRA Foundation triples down on not being transparent. I'm sorry, I take that back. It was not by Cam Edwards, it's by John Petrolino. Once again, another friend over at Bearing Arms. It says here, the NRA Foundation has gone silent after being sued by the NRA. The Attorney General of D.C. stepped in and the foundation still refuses to disclose its leadership structure. The ongoing saga of the National Rifle Association versus NRA Foundation continues. Last year, there were rumors that the foundation changed their bylaws and they were contacted about their leadership structure. The foundation did not reply to those queries. Rumors of a conflict turned out to be true, as the NRA filed a lawsuit against the foundation. To date, the foundation refuses to publicly disclose who their trustees are. This lack of transparency continues even after the Office of the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. got involved to mediate. The foundation still won't disclose who makes up their current leadership structure. The NRA made several allegations in the lawsuit. NRA alleges the foundation was illegally using NRA trademark as well as distributing funds promised to NRA programs. the foundation rebukes those claims, stating that they are simply upholding their fiduciary duties. The foundation also moved to have the case dismissed from and that request was denied. The NRA versus NRA Foundation story runs deep, and there are many elements to it. Right now, there are a lot of allegations that have been made through the lawsuit and some public comments. The NRA officials and their leadership. There has been there's been near complete silence from the NRA Foundation outside of a press release noting that the foundation's motion to dismiss the NRA's lawsuit, a public statement after filing, and some decline to comment to inquiries. Folks, and it is sad that we are having to deal with this. It is sad that people who are active and involved and who know the value of the NRA, and right now the NRA could really be doing a lot of positive in terms of helping to pass, not just pass legislation, but helping to help make sure that the new department that's fighting for our gun rights, to make sure that they have all that they need, because I'm sure the NRA knows where a lot of the bodies are buried. To be active and engaged in elections. I mean, we've got elections coming up, and it's going to be vitally important that we win, that we get some wins out of this. And sadly, the NRA is going to be largely nowhere to be found on many of these elections, because they're dealing with this. And once again, it's the old guard. It's the people who just refuse to let go of power. And by the way, the old guard are the ones who are with the foundation. The reformers are the ones who are now taking over the NRA. And what the NRA is saying is, yeah, y'all can't be doing stuff like that. You can't, there's the reason the foundation was created was to have this nonprofit entity to be able to bring funds in and allow funds in order to help fund NRA programs. You don't get to just break off, and well, I guess maybe they're saying you can, but you don't get to use the NRA name if you're not benefiting the NRA. Is the primary point I think that they're trying to work towards. Because once again, I haven't seen any of the books or anything, but if they're running the NRA Foundation anyway like they ran the NRA, then let's just say it ain't going to be very pretty. It's not going to be very pretty, and it's probably going to be a lot of major issues relating to it. All right, that now brings us to the news of the day, and this is one that I got to say that I have a major issue with our president. He yesterday decided to send out through a Truth Social post an image depicting him as Jesus, or at least wearing Jesus's robes, pretending to be Jesus, I guess. And it was not received too well by many Christians. I think many Christians believe that it was sacrilegious, and they're not wrong. They actually are not. They are in no way wrong. It says here, this is being reported by the New York Post. It says Trump makes wild claim defending Jesus-like AI post, refuses to apologize to Pope Leo over Iran war dispute. Okay, it says here, President Trump refused to apologize Monday to Pope Leo the 14th amid their public fight over the U.S.-Iran war, with Commander-in-Chief claiming the leader of the Roman Catholic Church had, quote, said things that are wrong. Quote, he was very much against what I am doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the result, Trump said of the pontiff outside the Oval Office. Quote, Iran wants to be a nuclear nation, and so they can exterminate the world. Not gonna happen. Trump accused Leo of being, quote, weak on crime during the impromptu press availability after posting similar criticism on Truth Social. Quote, there's nothing to apologize for. He's wrong, the president emphasized. Now, hold on, I'm trying to find. So this is the image that he posted. Now, I'm all for parody. I'm all for people trying to make fun. I've even said you can, I'm a believer that, you can make fun of things. Your number one thing, you need to be funny. But I don't see the humor in this. I really don't. I think that I don't know why the president feels that this is appropriate. It's not. Is it something that's going to make me say, okay, well, he's now a horrible president, I'm not going to support him? No. Because once again, I'll continue to say it. I weigh the good and I weigh the bad, and the good still outweighs the bad. But this wasn't right. I don't know that he owes the Pope an apology. I do not believe that he owes the Pope an apology, because he made legitimate concerns. He raised legitimate questions and concerns about, I mean, if the Pope is going to comment on American policy, then the president, who's basically the leader of American policy, gets to comment on the Pope and gets to comment on why he thinks the Pope is wrong. And he is wrong. I wish he had been more diplomatic in how he expressed it, but he wasn't. But, you know, is that something new? Is the president not being diplomatic a new thing? Something we've never seen or heard of before? No, that's kind of how he is. Crass and sometimes rude is kind of how he is. I'll continue to say, though, the flip side of that crass and rude means he doesn't take excuses when the swamp says something can't be done. He figures out a way to get it done. And he doesn't really care who he upsets while he's getting it done. But he gets it done. Anyway, I do though think that he does owe Christian believers, he does owe them an apology. That was inappropriate. That meme, that thing was inappropriate. Period. It just was. And I get it, some of y'all out there because there are people out there who think Trump can do no evil. There are people who think he can't do no good, just like there are people who think he can't do any evil. I will tell you right now, both of you are part of the problem. And in this particular case, the Pope was wrong. And I was glad to see some conservatives come out and say, yeah, Mr. President, you were wrong on this one. You may not feel like you owe an apology to folks, or to Christians, but to be honest with you, yeah, you do. And you know what? Hey, I thought I was being funny, and I took it too far. And you know what? People will forgive you. Jesus will forgive you, because that's what Jesus does. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. Get your Hog Holster today on discount. All right. All of our parting shots today are going to come to you from the Babylon Bee. That is fake news that you can trust. All right, our first one here coming from the folks over at the Babylon Bee. Says here, blasphemy. Pope Leo shares AI picture depicting himself as Donald Trump. And it's hilarious because you've got this image here of Pope Leo the 14th. He says, let's make the Vatican great again. And it's got him like in Donald Trump's like suit and signature, blue suit, red tie. He's sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office, behind the Resolute desk, but he's got his pontiff hat on. Oh, this was okay. I didn't even see this one here. Let's open this one right here. Swalwell insists he didn't assault any of those Chinese spies he slept with. That's an image there of him and Fang Fang. Okay. And then we got Trump predicts his approval ratings will be resurrected in 3 days. Oh, yeah. Probably so. I mean, it is kind of true that Donald Trump could probably, with some people, man, he could shoot somebody. He could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and there are people who wouldn't care. They'll still forgive him. It says here, Catholics find common ground with Protestants in ignoring what the Pope says most of the time. Yeah, this Pope is not as bad as other popes in the past. But the last Pope, I mean, they just said some things that are completely and utterly, in my opinion, contradictory to the Bible. I don't know how they justify it, but for some reason they seem to think it's cool. And but like I said, many Catholics have decided, you know what? They're still Catholic, but maybe they realize the pontiff is a fallible man, just like everybody else, and he's going to get some things wrong. And then finally, Kamala Harris thinking about losing again in 2028. That's right. She's considering running And if she runs, well, common sense will tell you she will lose, because she ain't gonna raise $1.5 billion again. And if she does, I don't know who the hell would give that woman money to run for president. You must be dumb. Anyway, that now brings us to the end of our program, or at least it brings us to at the end of the program. At least it brings us to the point where we do one last shout out to our sponsors. We have the folks at Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the California Republican Assembly, electing conservatives at all level of government. As a matter of fact, they are the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. We've got the Hog Holsters. Get your hogholsters.com. Get your hog holster at hogholsters.com. HAWGholster.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you've got the place where you can find all things tactical except a gun, and that would be at uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. I will be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you mañana.